Welcome to the EMT Spot's Blood Pressure Podcast. I'm Samuel Harrison,
And I'm Olivia Harper.
and we're diving deep, into this whole world of blood pressure medications. It's crazy how much is changing.
Yeah, it really is. It seems like what was standard advice just a few years ago is like totally different now.
Exactly. And, we always hear about how important it is to stay updated on medical guidelines. Well, this is a perfect example of why that's so crucial for managing blood pressure.
Couldn't agree more. What might have been considered the best treatment back then could be outdated now or like even risky. So we're going to break it all down, help you navigate this.
Right on. So let's start with some of those outdated blood pressure medications that you might want to chat with your doctor about, kind of like a blast from the past for medicine.
Yeah, for sure. And the thing is, as research keeps going, we find medications that are way safer, way more effective.
Totally. So first up on our list, we've got atenolol. It's a beta blocker. And beta blockers work by, well, they slow down your heart rate. Sounds good, right?
Right.
But there's a catch.
Right, there is. Atenolol can sometimes mask the signs of low blood sugar, and that's a big deal, especially for people with diabetes.
Definitely serious concern. And on top of that, it can cause some not so fun side effects like nausea and dizziness.
Yeah, not exactly ideal.
Okay, so moving on, we've got furosemide. It's a type of diuretic. Diuretics basically help your body get rid of all that excess water and sodium. But here's the thing. While diuretics are still widely used for blood pressure, furosemide isn't as popular anymore.
Yeah, and that's because it can mess with your electrolytes, throw things out of balance, and that can really disrupt your body's natural rhythm.
Gotcha. So there are better options out there.
There are newer diuretics like thiazides. They strike a better balance, good effectiveness, with way less risk.
Eyes. Okay, we'll get to those a little later. But for now, let's stick with these medications that are, fading out of the picture.
Sounds good.
Next up, we've got terazosin and prazosin. These guys are alpha blockers, and they can lower blood pressure, but they also have this tendency to cause some lightheadedness, even fainting.
Oh, wow. Not great.
No kidding. You don't want to feel like you're going to pass out every time you stand up, right?
Right.
Okay. Next on the list is hydralazine. This one works by directly relaxing the muscles in your blood vessels. Helps lower blood pressure, but
yeah, just like the others we've talked about, it comes with, a higher risk of side effects compared to the newer medications. It's all about weighing the risks and benefits, right? And with these older medications, it's like the risks are starting to outweigh the benefits.
yeah, that makes sense.
God.
Got to stay up to date. Okay, last but not least, we have clonidine. It's a central alpha agonist, and it's complicated, but it affects how your brain talks to your blood vessels, the signals.
Right.
Seems complicated.
It is. And so are the side effects. One thing that's particularly worrisome is something called rebound hypertension. Basically, if you stop taking it suddenly, your blood pressure could spike, dangerously high.
Yikes. That's definitely something you want to avoid.
For sure. And on top of that, clonidine can make you drowsy and slow down your heart rate.
Gotcha. So not a medication to mess around with.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about all these older medications, but here's a twist. Even over-the-counter medications can throw a wrench in your blood pressure treatment.
Oh, yeah, it's like a hidden puzzle in your medicine cabinet. You wouldn't think it, but those everyday over-the-counter meds can actually mess with your prescribed blood pressure medications.
For instance, let's take your everyday pain relievers like NSAIDs, ibuprofen and Proxen. Those can actually increase your blood pressure.
Yeah, and if you're popping them regularly, it can make your prescribed medication less effective.
Interesting. So it's not just about the blood pressure meds themselves, it's about everything you're taking.
Exactly. And it's not just pain relievers either. Cold and flu medications, a lot of them have decongestants in them, like pseudoephedrine, and those can raise your blood pressure too.
Wow. So even when you're just trying to fight off a cold, you got to be careful.
Definitely. And then there are things like antacids, for your stomach. Some of them have tons of sodium, which we know isn't good for blood pressure.
Oh, that's right. I hadn't even thought about that.
And don't even get me started on some of those natural supplements. Some of them, like, mahuang, bitter orange, ephedra, they have stimulants that can interfere with your blood pressure meds and even lead to some pretty serious complications.
Okay, so the bottom line is, even if it seems harmless, always talk to your doctor or pharmacist before you take anything, right?
Absolutely. They can help you figure out if there are any potential interactions and suggest some safe alternatives.
This really highlights, I think, the importance of individualized care, right? Like what works for one person might not work for another. And there are so many factors that can play a role in those treatment decisions, like if someone has diabetes or if they're pregnant or even, things like erectile dysfunction.
Exactly. It's not one size fits all. So
Right.
you've really got to be open with your doctor about, well, everything, your medical history, your lifestyle, any concerns you have. And then together you can come up with a plan that works for you, helps you achieve your blood pressure goals.
Makes sense. So we've talked about these older medications to avoid, but now let's shift gears and talk about some of the newer blood pressure medications out there, ones that are generally considered, safer and more effective.
Yeah, these new meds, they really show how far we've come in understanding and treating high blood pressure.
Okay, so first up, we have thiazide diuretics. Remember how we were talking about diuretics earlier?
Yep.
Well, thiazides help your body get rid of excess water and sodium. But what's cool is that they also affect calcium.
Oh, yeah, they help your body hold on to calcium, which is, well, it's good for your bones.
Interesting. So it's like a two-for-one benefit.
Kind of. Yep.
Two commonly prescribed thiazides are chlorthalidone and hydrochlorothiazide
Yeah, those are often the go-to choices.
because they're effective and,
They're affordable and generally well tolerated.
okay, nice. So next we've got the ACE inhibitors. These work by blocking the formation of a hormone that narrows your blood vessels. That way, blood can flow more easily, less strain on your heart.
And they don't just lower blood pressure, they also protect your kidneys, especially if you have diabetes.
So it's like a win-win for your heart and your kidneys.
Exactly.
Awesome. Some popular ACE inhibitors are lisinopril, benazepril, and ramipril. These are often prescribed like as a first-line treatment for high blood pressure.
They are. Now, one thing to remember with ACE inhibitors is that some people get this persistent dry cough as a side effect. If that happens, talk to your doctor. They might switch you to an ARB.
ARB, okay. What's that stand for?
Angiotensin receptor blockers. They work similarly to AC inhibitors, but they target a different part of the blood pressure regulation system.
Gotcha. So kind of like two different roads leading to the same destination.
Exactly. Think of it this way. ACE inhibitors, they stop the production of the hormone that makes blood vessels tighten up, whereas ARBs, they block the spots where that hormone would normally attach. Either way, you end up with more relaxed blood vessels.
Makes sense. So what are some common ARBs?
Losartan, valsartan, and irbesartan, those are ones you might hear about.
Gotcha. And finally, we have the calcium channel blockers. These work a little differently. They relax those blood vessels by preventing calcium from getting into the muscle cells of your heart and arteries.
Yep, makes it easier for your heart to pump blood.
And a well-known example of a calcium channel blocker is
Amlodipine. It's often used to treat both high blood pressure and chest pain, the kind caused by angina.
okay, so we've covered a good amount here. From those older medications to steer clear of, to these newer, more effective options. But remember, this is just a starting point.
Right. It's important to have that open conversation with your doctor to figure out which medication and, what dosage is right for you.
Absolutely. And, medication is just one piece of the puzzle. Lifestyle strategies play a huge role in managing high blood pressure and reducing your risk of complications.
Huge. In fact, some lifestyle changes can be just as effective as medication at lowering your blood pressure.
Wow, really? So it's really about taking a holistic approach,
Yeah.
looking at the whole picture.
Exactly.
So let's talk about some of those lifestyle changes. We'll start with something that's essential for everyone, whether you have high blood pressure or not. Healthy sleep habits.
Sleep, it's like hitting the reset button for your body. If you don't get enough, your hormones get all messed up, and you know what? That can lead to higher blood pressure.
Makes sense. So aim for how many hours of sleep?
7 to 8 hours of good quality sleep each night. And, make it a ritual, a relaxing bedtime routine, a dark, quiet, cool bedroom, and, avoid caffeine and alcohol before bed.
Okay, so sleep is key. What about diet?
Diet's huge. Reducing your sodium intake is a must. Processed foods, fast food, restaurant meals, they're often loaded with sodium. Cooking at home more often can really help. That way you control what goes in.
And cutting back on sodium, that doesn't mean your food has to be bland, right?
Right. Get creative with herbs, spices, lemon juice, vinegar. There are tons of ways to add flavor without the salt.
Good point. So what about things we should be adding to our diet?
Potassium. That's a big one. Potassium actually helps to counteract the effects of sodium. It can really help lower your blood pressure.
So what are some good sources of potassium?
Bananas, sweet potatoes, leafy greens, beans, lentils. Add those to your meals and you'll be doing your body a favor.
Gotcha. So we've got sleep, diet. What about exercise?
Exercise is like magic for your heart and blood vessels. It strengthens your heart, improves blood flow, and helps your body regulate blood pressure more effectively.
Okay, so what kind of exercise are we talking about? Do I need to be running marathons here?
Not at all. Even moderate intensity exercise, like brisk walking, swimming, cycling, or dancing, can make a big difference. Aim for at least 30 minutes most days of the week. Find something you enjoy and make it a part of your routine. Every little bit counts.
Right on. And strength training, is that beneficial too?
Absolutely. Building muscle mass can also help lower blood pressure and boost your metabolism.
Okay, so I've got sleep, diet, exercise. What about stress? Everyone's got stress.
Stress is a silent killer, you know? Chronic stress, it can wreak havoc on your blood pressure and lead to a whole bunch of other problems.
So how do we manage it? There's no magic pill for stress, right?
Not really, but there are healthy ways to manage it. Things like mindfulness
Right there.
meditation, deep breathing exercises, yoga, spending time in nature. It's about finding what works for you and making it a part of your daily life. It's about giving your mind and body a break.
Exactly.
And finally, what about managing other health conditions?
That's crucial too. Things like diabetes, kidney problems, sleep apnea, they can all contribute to high blood pressure. So it's important to manage those conditions, treat them effectively. It's like tackling a multi-headed monster.
Makes sense. So we've covered a lot here in this first part of our deep dive. We've talked about older medications to avoid, newer options that are available, and the power of lifestyle changes.
And in the next part, we'll dive even deeper into some specific medications and lifestyle strategies.
Stay tuned.
We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the EMT Spot's Blood Pressure Podcast. So in the first part, we talked about some of those older blood pressure medications, the ones that are kind of being phased out, and why it's so important to, stay current with those medical guidelines.
Yeah, and we also touched on those newer categories of blood pressure meds and how powerful lifestyle changes can be, for managing blood pressure. Exactly. So now let's zoom in a bit. Take a closer look at some specific examples of these modern blood pressure medications.
Okay, sounds good.
We'll break it down by category, explore what makes each one unique.
It's like peeking behind the curtain of, modern medicine.
I like that. Okay, so first up, let's revisit those thiazide diuretics. We talked about how they help your body get rid of extra water and sodium, but I'm really interested in that whole calcium thing.
Right, right. Thiazides actually help your body hold on to calcium, which can be good for bone health. It's a nice bonus, especially if you're worried about osteoporosis.
A bonus, yeah, I like that. Okay, so two common ones we hear about are chlorthalidone and hydrochlorothiazide.
Those are often the first choices, yeah.
Why is that?
Well, they're effective, they're affordable, and usually people tolerate them pretty well.
Okay, makes sense. Next up, we've got those ACE inhibitors, the ones that smooth things out, help relax your blood vessels. We mentioned lisinopril, benazepril, and ramipril.
Yep, those are some of the big names in this category.
And these are often a go-to choice for high blood pressure,
Mhm.
right? And they also help protect your kidneys, especially if you have diabetes.
Exactly. Two birds, one stone.
Nice. But you did mention earlier that some people get that dry cough with ACE inhibitors.
Right. Some people experience that persistent dry cough. If that happens, your doctor might suggest trying an ARB instead.
An ARB, okay. Reminder, that stands for?
Angiotensin receptor blockers. They work in a similar way to ACE inhibitors, but they're like targeting a different part of that whole blood pressure system,
Okay, so two different strategies to get to the same outcome.
Exactly. Think of it like this. ATE inhibitors stop the production of the hormone that tightens those blood vessels, and ARBs block the sites where that hormone would normally attach. Both lead to relaxed blood vessels.
Ah, I see. So some common ARBs are...
Losartan, valsartan, and irbesartan. You might recognize those names.
Gotcha. And finally, there are the calcium channel blockers. Those work by preventing calcium from entering the muscle cells in your heart and arteries.
Right. And that helps relax those blood vessels, makes it easier for your heart to pump blood.
And a well-known calcium channel blocker is?
Amlodipine. It's often used to treat both high blood pressure and chest pain, the kind caused by angina.
Okay, so that's a good overview of those modern blood pressure medications. But, as always, this is just a starting point.
Absolutely. It's crucial to chat with your doctor, figure out which medication and dosage is the right fit for you.
Right. Now let's switch gears again. Let's dive deeper into those lifestyle strategies we touched on earlier. They're crucial for managing blood pressure, but I think they deserve a closer look.
Oh, for sure. Lifestyle changes can be just as powerful as medication when it comes to lowering blood pressure. And often they work even better together, like a 1-2 punch.
I like that. Okay, so let's start with diet. We already talked about reducing sodium and upping your potassium intake, but is there a specific eating plan that's good for this?
There is. You might have heard of it. It's called the D-Day SH diet.
The D-Day-SH diet. Okay, what does that stand for?
Dietary approaches to stop hypertension.
Okay, and this isn't like some fad diet, right?
No, no, not at all. It's a balanced, sustainable way of eating. Lots of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and lean protein.
So it's basically giving your body what it needs to maintain healthy blood pressure.
Exactly.
And you're focusing on foods that are naturally low in sodium and high in potassium, magnesium, and calcium, right?
I got it.
So those are all nutrients that help regulate blood pressure.
Exactly.
Okay, so what about fats?
Well, you want to limit those saturated and trans fats. Those unhealthy fats can raise your cholesterol levels and contribute to plaque buildup in your arteries, which, as you know, increases your risk of heart disease and stroke.
Right, so instead, we should focus on healthy fats.
Right, like the ones you find in olive oil, avocados, nuts, and fatty fish. Those can actually help lower your cholesterol and improve your heart health.
Got it. And what about fiber?
Fiber is your friend. Fiber-rich foods, like those fruits, veggies, whole grains, and legumes, they can help lower blood pressure and improve your overall health.
Why is fiber so great?
It helps regulate digestion, it keeps you feeling full longer, and it can even lower cholesterol levels. It's a multitasker.
I like it. Okay, so let's move on to exercise. We talked about aiming for at least 30 minutes of moderate intensity exercise most days of the week. But what are some good examples of activities that can really help lower blood pressure?
Well, brisk walking is a great option. It's accessible for most people, and you can do it pretty much anywhere, anytime. Aim for a pace where you can talk but not sing. That's a good indicator that you're in that moderate intensity zone.
I like that. Talk test, easy to remember.
Exactly. And swimming's another great choice. It's low impact, so it's gentle on your joints, and it works your whole body.
Yeah, swimming's great.
And then there's cycling. You can enjoy it outdoors or indoors on a stationary bike. It's another excellent cardiovascular workout.
Right, right. And what about dancing?
Oh, dancing is fantastic. It's fun, it's engaging, and it gets your heart pumping. Put on your favorite music and just let loose.
Love it. And of course, we can't forget about strength training.
Absolutely. Building muscle helps lower blood pressure and boosts your metabolism.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground with lifestyle changes, but I think we need to address the elephant in the room. Stress.
Oh, yeah, stress is a big one. We know it's a major contributor to high blood pressure, but finding effective ways to manage it can be tough.
For sure. So what are some strategies that can help?
Well, one technique that's becoming really popular is mindfulness meditation. It's all about focusing on your breath and paying attention to the present moment without judgment.
So it's like training your mind to be more aware and less reactive to stress.
Exactly. Even just a few minutes of meditation each day can make a big difference.
I can see that. And you mentioned deep breathing exercises earlier.
Oh yeah, deep breathing is incredibly powerful for calming your nervous system. When you're stressed, your breathing tends to get shallow and rapid, so consciously slowing down your breath can help lower your heart rate and blood pressure.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Are there any specific techniques you recommend?
There are tons of techniques out there, but one simple one is to inhale slowly through your nose, counting to 4, hold your breath for a count of 7, and then exhale slowly through your mouth, counting to 8. Repeat that a few times, and you'll start to feel more relaxed.
Okay, I like that. Easy to remember. What about yoga? Is that helpful for stress management and blood pressure?
Yoga is fantastic. It combines those physical postures, breathing techniques, and meditation. It's all about promoting relaxation and flexibility.
I've heard of restorative yoga. Is that a specific type?
It is. Restorative yoga involves holding gentle poses for longer periods of time. It can be really helpful for lowering blood pressure and reducing stress.
So find a style of yoga that suits you.
Exactly. And don't forget about the simple things in life that bring you joy. Spending time in nature, listening to music, reading a good book, taking a warm bath, connecting with loved ones. All of those things can help reduce stress and boost your overall well-being.
It's about taking care of yourself, making time for those things that make you feel good.
Exactly. Now, let's talk about something that can be a bit of a sensitive topic. Alcohol. A lot of people enjoy a drink now and then, but how does alcohol affect blood pressure?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Well, moderate alcohol consumption is generally considered safe for most adults, but excessive drinking can raise your blood pressure and increase your risk of heart disease.
So what's considered moderate?
For women, it's no more than 1 drink per day. For men, no more than 2 drinks per day.
And drink is.
12 ounces of beer, 5 ounces of wine, or 1.5 ounces of liquor.
Okay, good to know. And of course, if you have any concerns about alcohol and blood pressure, it's always best to talk to your doctor.
Absolutely. They can help you assess your individual risk factors and make the best decisions for your health.
Right. Now, let's talk about something that's becoming increasingly common. Sleep deprivation.
Oh, yeah. Lack of sleep can really mess with your blood pressure.
How so?
Well, when you don't get enough sleep, your body releases hormones that elevate your blood pressure and heart rate. And over time, this can damage your blood vessels and increase your risk of heart disease, stroke, and other complications.
So how much sleep do we really need?
Most adults need 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep per night. Kids and teenagers need even more.
So prioritize sleep.
Absolutely. Establish a regular sleep schedule, create a relaxing bedtime routine, and make sure your bedroom is dark, quiet, and cool. And try to avoid caffeine and alcohol before bed as they can disrupt your sleep.
Good tips. And if you're still having trouble sleeping, talk to your doctor.
Yeah.
There might be some underlying medical conditions or lifestyle factors that are contributing to your sleep problems.
Exactly.
Now, let's talk about something that can be a major source of stress for many people. Finances.
Oh, yeah. Financial stress can have a ripple effect on your overall health, including your blood pressure.
How so?
Well, when we're worried about money, our bodies go into that fight or flight mode. We release stress hormones that raise our blood pressure and heart rate.
Right. So over time, that chronic stress can damage our blood vessels.
Exactly. It increases our risk of heart disease, stroke, and other health problems.
So what can we do to manage financial stress and protect our health?
Well, creating a budget and sticking to it is a great first step. It helps you track your income and expenses and make informed decisions about your spending.
Right. And if you're struggling with debt, what do you recommend?
Consider seeking professional help. A financial advisor can help you develop a plan to manage your debt, save for the future, and achieve your financial goals.
Good advice. So it's about taking control of your finances.
Exactly. It's not about how much money you make, it's about how you manage it. Live within your means, save for a rainy day, and make smart financial decisions.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot of different lifestyle factors that can affect blood pressure. But what about regular checkups? How important are those?
Regular checkups are crucial, especially if you have high blood pressure. It's all about monitoring your condition, identifying any potential problems early on, and making adjustments to your treatment plan as needed.
How often should people get their blood pressure checked?
Well, if your blood pressure is well controlled, you might be able to go a year between checkups. But if you have high blood pressure or other health conditions, your doctor might recommend more frequent visits.
Makes sense. And what about other health screenings, like cholesterol checks, blood sugar tests, and kidney function tests?
Those are important too. They can help detect other health problems that can contribute to high blood pressure or increase your risk of complications.
Right, so it's about being proactive. Now let's talk about something that can be a challenge for many people. Taking your medication as prescribed. Is that a common issue?
It is. It's called medication adherence, and it's a big deal. Life gets busy, and it's easy to forget to take your pills.
So what are some tips for improving medication adherence?
Well, you can set reminders on your phone, use a pill box, or ask a family member or friend to remind you. And if you're still having trouble, talk to your doctor. There might be other medications or treatment options that better fit your lifestyle.
Good point. Now, I think we need to talk about smoking.
Oh, yeah. Smoking is a major risk factor for high blood pressure, heart disease, stroke, and a whole host of other serious health problems.
So if you smoke, quitting is one of the best things you can do for your health.
Absolutely. It's not easy, but it's worth it. Talk to your doctor about resources that can help you quit, like medications, counseling, and support groups. And remember, it's never too late to quit.
The benefits of quitting start almost immediately.
They do. And your risk of smoking-related diseases decreases significantly over time.
Okay, so we've talked about conventional medicine and lifestyle changes. What about complementary therapies? Are there any that can be helpful for managing blood pressure?
There are. Yoga is a great example. We already talked about how it can help with stress management, but it can also lower blood pressure directly. Well, yoga combines those physical postures, breathing techniques, and meditation, all of which can have a positive effect on blood pressure.
And we talked about restorative yoga earlier.
Right. Restorative yoga has been shown to be particularly effective for lowering blood pressure.
So if you're interested in trying yoga, find a qualified instructor.
Absolutely, someone who can guide you through the poses safely and effectively.
Now, what about acupuncture? I've heard that can be helpful for blood pressure.
Acupuncture is a traditional Chinese medicine technique that involves inserting thin needles into specific points on the body. It's thought to stimulate the release of endorphins, which are natural pain relievers, and it may also help regulate the nervous system and improve blood flow.
So it's about restoring balance in the body.
Exactly. And if you're considering acupuncture, it's important to find a qualified and licensed practitioner.
Good advice. Now, let's shift gears a little bit and talk about the power of positive thinking. Can our thoughts really affect our blood pressure?
They can. Our thoughts and beliefs have a profound impact on our physical health, including our blood pressure.
How so?
While negative thoughts and beliefs can trigger the release of stress hormones, which we know can raise blood pressure, but positive thoughts and beliefs can promote relaxation and help lower blood pressure.
So it's about cultivating a more positive mindset.
Exactly. Practice gratitude, challenge negative thoughts, surround yourself with positive people, and don't forget to laugh.
Laughter's the best medicine.
It's definitely good for you.
Now, what about setting boundaries? I think a lot of people struggle with that.
Setting boundaries is crucial for managing stress and protecting your health. We often feel obligated to say yes to every request, even if it means overcommitting ourselves and sacrificing our well-being. But overcommitting can lead to stress, overwhelm, and ultimately higher blood pressure.
So learning to say no is important.
It is. Start by identifying your priorities. What's most important to you? What activities bring you joy and fulfillment? Once you know your priorities, start saying no to things that don't align with them.
And remember, saying no doesn't have to be rude or confrontational.
Exactly. You can simply say something like, I appreciate you thinking of me, but I'm not able to commit to that right now. It's about being assertive and respectful of your own needs.
Good advice. Now let's talk about self-care.
Self-care is not selfish. It's essential for our physical and mental well-being. When we take care of ourselves, we're better equipped to handle stress, manage our health, and live our lives to the fullest.
So what are some good self-care practices?
Anything that nourishes your mind, body, and soul. Spending time in nature, listening to calming music, practicing relaxation techniques, reading a good book, treating yourself to a massage, spending time with loved ones, pursuing your hobbies, getting enough sleep, eating a healthy diet, exercising regularly, practicing mindfulness, and seeking professional help when needed.
It's about making time for yourself.
Exactly. And be kind to yourself. You deserve to feel happy, healthy, and fulfilled. So go ahead. Give yourself permission to prioritize your well-being.
Welcome back to the EMT Blood Pressure Podcast. Phew. In the past 2 parts of this deep dive, we've really covered a lot, from medications, both those old ones and the new stuff, to how our everyday choices, like what we eat and how much we sleep, can affect our blood pressure.
It's amazing, isn't it, how everything's connected?
It really is. It's like our bodies are these super complex systems, and when one thing's off, it throws everything out of whack.
Yeah, exactly. That's why, that whole holistic approach to health is so important. It's not just about treating those individual symptoms. It's about getting to the root of the problem and helping your body do what it does best, heal and stay healthy.
I totally agree. As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to circle back to something we touched on earlier, how it feels emotionally and mentally to live with high blood pressure, a chronic condition.
Oh, that's so important. We talk a lot about the physical stuff, but the mental and emotional side of things can be just as tough.
Right. It's easy to get caught up in, taking your meds and watching what you eat.
Yeah.
But how you feel about it all matters, too.
Big time. Living with high blood pressure, it can be stressful, right? There's the constant monitoring, the potential side effects from the meds, those lifestyle changes you have to make, and then there's the fear of complications. It's a lot to deal with.
It is. And when you're feeling overwhelmed, it's easy to slip into those negative thought patterns, maybe you're not doing enough or you're a burden on everyone.
And those negative thoughts, they just add to the stress, which makes it even harder to manage your blood pressure. It's a vicious cycle.
Totally. So what can people do?
Well, it's about being kind to yourself. Practice some self-compassion, take care of yourself, and celebrate those wins, even the small ones. It's about shifting from self-criticism to self-support.
I love that. And don't be afraid to ask for help.
Right. Talk to your doctor, a therapist, join a support group, Sharing what you're going through, connecting with others who get it, that can make a huge difference. You're not alone in this.
Absolutely. Now, I think it's important to talk about the fear of complications. It's natural to worry about the long-term effects of high blood pressure, but understanding what those are can actually be empowering.
I think so too. Knowledge is power. The more you know about high blood pressure and how to manage it, the more control you have, and the less scary it feels.
Okay, so let's talk about some of those potential complications. One of the most serious is heart disease, right?
Right. High blood pressure puts a lot of strain on your heart. Over time, that can weaken the heart muscle, and that increases your risk of things like heart failure, heart attacks, and those irregular heart rhythms.
So taking care of your blood pressure is really about taking care of your heart.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's not just your heart. High blood pressure can damage your blood vessels too, make them more likely to harden and narrow. That's called atherosclerosis. And that can restrict blood flow throughout your body, leading to things like stroke, kidney disease, even problems with your vision.
It's amazing how interconnected everything is.
It really is. And then there's kidney disease, which is another concern. High blood pressure can damage those delicate filters in your kidneys, making it harder for them to remove waste from your blood. And over time, that can lead to kidney failure, which might mean dialysis or even a kidney transplant.
That sounds serious.
It is. And high blood pressure can affect your brain too. It can damage the blood vessels there, increasing your risk of stroke, dementia, and cognitive decline.
It's a whole body issue.
It really is. But the good news is that these complications, they're not inevitable. By managing your blood pressure well through medication, lifestyle changes, and regular checkups, you can drastically reduce your risk.
So it's about being proactive, making choices that support your health in the long run.
Exactly. And another really important piece of managing your blood pressure is having a good relationship with your healthcare team, your doctor, nurse, pharmacist, everyone involved in your care.
It's like building your own personal health support squad.
I like that. And communication is key. Be open with your doctor about your symptoms, any concerns you have, and anything you're struggling with when it comes to your treatment.
You're the expert on you. Don't be afraid to ask questions and speak up for what you need.
Exactly. You're the most important member of your healthcare team. Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with this. Managing high blood pressure, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. It takes effort, it takes commitment, but it's so worth it.
It's about making those lasting changes, taking your meds as prescribed, checking your blood pressure regularly, and working with your doctor every step of the way.
It's about taking care of your whole self, mind, body, and spirit.
And remember, you don't have to go it alone. There are people who care about you and want to help. Talk to your loved ones, reach out to your healthcare team, or find a support group. You've got this.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into blood pressure. We hope you found it helpful and maybe even a little inspiring.
I'm Samuel Harrison.
And I'm Olivia Harper.
And this has been the EMT Spot's Blood Pressure Podcast. If you liked what you heard today, please subscribe, like, comment, and share it with anyone who might benefit. And be sure to stay tuned for more deep dives into the world of health and wellness. Until next time, take care of yourselves.